So let's do the chanting right away. Namo Tassa Bhagavato ArahatoSammaSambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato ArahatoSammaSambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato ArahatoSammaSambuddhassa. Buddham saranam gacchami, dhammam saranam gacchami, sangham saranam gacchami, tudayambi buddham saranam gacchami, tudayambi dhammam saranam gacchami, tudayambi sangham saranam gacchami, Tatayambi buddham saranam gacchami, Tatayambi dhammam saranam gacchami, Tatayambi sangham saranam gacchami. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. May all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May they be free from suffering and its causes. May they never be parted from their happiness beyond suffering. May they abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment to the near, and aversion from the far. I shall cause this. Great compassionate Buddha, please inspire me to be able to do so. Reverently, I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind, and present clouds of every types of offerings, actual and mentally transformed. I confess all of my negative actions accumulated since beginningless time, and rejoice in all the virtues of all holy and ordinary beings. Please remain until cyclic existence ends, and turn the wheel of Dharma for all sentient beings. I dedicate the virtues of myself and others to the great enlightenment. However innumerable all sentient beings are, I vow to save them all. However inexhaustible my delusions are, I vow to extinguish them all. However immeasurable the Dharma teachings are, I vow to master them all. However endless the Buddha's way is, I vow to follow it completely. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Tayata gate gate parasamgate bodhisoha. Tayata gate gate parasamgate bodhisoha. Tayata gate parasamgate bodhisoha. So now time for some meditation, and get yourself in a good, comfortable upright position. As upright as possible. And while we're doing the meditation, try to keep yourself as still as possible. Now bring your mind inside your body and release any tension you may have, from the tips of your toes to your shoulders, to the tips of your fingers, and to the top of your head. So we'll take a few moments to do this. Like I said, try to keep your body still as you do this. If you have to, if it's finding it difficult to release the tension, then take a deep in-breath and then release the tension on the out-breath. Or if you have to, you can manipulate the body a little. So when you are ready, no hurry, but when you are ready, place your mind onto your breathing, starting initially at the tip of your nose as you breathe in, and follow the feeling of the breath as you breathe all the way into your lungs, and then all the way back out your nose again. Breathing in, breathing out. If you're so inclined, you can also use the extra method of counting your breath. One in-breath, one out-breath is one, and so on. But don't count past 10. And if you do get distracted along the way to 10, or on the way to 10, then go back to 1. So let's say, for instance, you stop at 5, or you get distracted at 5, then go back to 1. This extra technique helps you to focus on your breathing. But the object of meditation is just that, the breath, or the breathing process. Or you could say the feeling of the breath as you breathe in and out. If thoughts or any mental activity arises, don't cling to it, don't grasp at it, don't try to forcefully push it away or deny it. Just let it go naturally by refocusing on your breath. And if your mind starts to become sleepy and dull and fuzzy, then wake it up a little bit by refocusing on your breath more brightly. So let's practice like this in silence for a few minutes. Don't try too hard, don't try too little. Not too tight, not too loose. So now you can feel very happy with yourself for engaging in this practice. And fill yourself with universal loving kindness. Really be kind to yourself. Fill yourself with this kindness. You are your own best friend. Fill yourself with this friendliness, this non-aggression, non-violence, and honesty, acceptance, appreciation, and respect. You can just go with the feeling, or you can utilize visualization. Visualize the loving kindness as white light or white nectar, filling your entire being. So much so now that it overflows outwards, radiates initially to your loved ones, your family, your friends. May they be happy, free from suffering, and be peaceful. And radiate further and further gradually. Now include also strangers, those people that you may know a little bit or not at all. May they also be happy, free from suffering, and be peaceful. Now radiate further to include those you may regard as enemies, people that you find irritating or frustrating somehow, for whatever reason. May they also be happy, free from suffering, and be peaceful. Just remind yourself at this moment that true loving kindness, universal loving kindness, is based on a mind of equanimity. So metta is grounded in and based on upekkha, non-biased mind. May all of these people be happy, free from suffering, and be peaceful. And radiating further and further now, include all of those living beings around your area. The beings that live on the earth, under the earth, in the waters, fly through the air. And gradually, like a tidal wave of loving kindness, radiate further and further. Now to include all of the living beings throughout your whole state or county. And other states and counties throughout your whole country. And other countries throughout the whole world. Initially, those you have an affinity towards, that you know about, maybe have lived there or visited there or have relatives there. Also to those countries that you don't know about much, maybe just a little bit or not at all. And also those countries that for whatever reason you may have sort of had negative feelings towards. May all of the living beings within all of these countries throughout the whole world be happy, free from suffering, and be peaceful. May all wars and conflicts be pacified. May all disease, such as the pandemic, subside. May any other types of suffering be overcome. May the earth be balanced and peaceful. all of the living beings care for each other. Be kind to each other. Give up selfishness. Give up anger and hatred. Now have your loving kindness pervade throughout the whole solar system. And the whole galaxy. And throughout the whole universe and beyond. The loving kindness, this immeasurable loving kindness now pervades throughout infinite space. While at the same time be present here and now to recite the dedication prayer. Due to this merit, may I soon attain the enlightened state of the Buddha, so that I may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. May the precious bodhicitta, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. And may the precious view of shunyata, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. So we are coming up to completing, for the moment anyway, the commentary on the 6 perfections, or 6 transcendental perfections, also known in Sanskrit and Pali as 6 paramitas. Well, I think in Pali it's actually paramis, and Sanskrit paramitas. Okay, so we have already had reasonable detail for all of the aspects of the 3 different types of aspects of the 6 paramitas. As you know, we have finished up, just about finished up on the wisdom part. And last week and the week before, I gave a brief overview and a little bit of commentary on the Heart Sutra, the Perfection of Wisdom Sutra, the heart of the perfection of wisdom. So the short version. And also on interdependent origination, or Bodhicitta the previous week, a little bit on that too. So hopefully you got a lot out of that. Like I said, it was just an overview. It takes quite a bit of time to go through everything. Like I said, maybe a year, 2 years, or maybe if we keep it even short, maybe a few months at least, normally. But we're able to get it done in two classes. So probably about 50, 60 minutes altogether. So just finish up the Heart Sutra. We got up to the last little bit, which is mentioning the dharani, or the mantra. I mentioned to you that the word dharani is really another word for mantra. And I've noticed that quite often for the longer mantras, different traditions may use the word dharani, and the shorter ones, mantra. Okay, mantra comes, manas means mind in this sense, and tra is representative of protection. Okay, I can't remember the full word actually, but tra is part of that. So mantra, mind protection. But also the mantras, they also cover the essence, as mentioned, the essence of the teachings, the core of the teachings. And if we keep them in the ancient language, because if you translate them to English, it's actually would be very long and maybe paragraphs and pages and whatever, so we keep them sort of in the, I guess, as well in the spirit of the teaching, like the compressed teaching, like the Heart Sutra. The mantra makes it even more compressed. Okay, so it contains all of this. In fact, it is said that even that last syllable, ha, so ha also covers the whole of the teachings, Prajnaparamita teachings, okay? And then that's in the Chan, Zen tradition. So the last little bit after it says that, all Buddhas, past, present, and future, depend on the perfection of wisdom, must realize the perfection of wisdom, of course, as well as the perfection and unification of bodhicitta with the perfection of wisdom to become ultimate bodhicitta as well. And all the bodhisattvas that are practicing on the way to becoming a Buddha also have to depend on this. We all in our practice have to depend on this perfection of wisdom. Of course, we don't have that right now, but we're working our way towards it. That's why we have to practice the other paramitas to create the conditions, the karmic conditions, or the virtue, really, the virtue and the merit, to develop the good conditions that so prepare our mind, or so that we enable ourselves to prepare our mind to be able to understand this nature of reality, this emptiness of self, or the perfection of wisdom. Okay, so it says that therefore know that the Prajnaparamita Dharani is the highest Dharani, the brightest Dharani, the peerless Dharani, the supreme Dharani which completely ends all suffering. So the brightest, obviously highest, I think the supreme, I think you can understand these words without going into detail, because this would take detailed commentary to go into these different aspects. But I think just by contemplating briefly those words, you can see that this is the highest teaching. You know, this is the teaching, when you look at it, it's perfection of wisdom, but also we're talking about the Buddha nature as well. Okay, so the enlightenment. And so basically, this is the highest, and it completely ends all suffering. When you realize this wisdom, you end suffering, you end cyclic existence for yourself, okay? And then, of course, with the compassion added, the bodhicitta added, we are doing whatever we can to help other living beings, all living beings, attain this enlightenment as well. So therefore know that the Prajnaparamita Dharani, the highest Dharani, the brightest Dharani, the peerless Dharani, the supreme Dharani, which completely ends all suffering, know this as truth, do not doubt. And so proclaim this Prajnaparamita Dharani, proclaim this Dharani and declare. So know this as truth, but don't just blindly believe it. Of course, you have to practice. You have to contemplate, you have to investigate and analyze. To believe, and therefore dispel all uncertainty and doubts, and have a conviction in this teaching. And this is the same with all of the Dharma teachings. Okay, so I thought I'd just finish off with that. So basically, gate gate para samgate buddhi soha, without much detail, means to go beyond the worldly ways, go beyond just filling yourself or filling your whole life and time with satisfying your senses and kind of gratifying your egotistical mind, you know, and turn towards enlightenment and enter into what we call the path of accumulation, to accumulate vast amounts of merit and create these conditions to be able to realize the nature of reality and eventually enlightenment. And then also go beyond even that to the path of preparation, or the level of preparation, where now you have created all of this vast amount of merit that you now have to prepare your mind to understand this nature of reality. Okay, and then you can go beyond that to the path of insight, to now you've prepared your mind so thoroughly to understand emptiness that you perceive it, but you have not filled your mind with it yet. Your karma hasn't been purified totally yet. So now you need to go beyond this path of insight to the path of meditation, or you could say habituation or absorption, to absorb your mind fully with this wisdom. And then go beyond that even, bodhisoha, go to enlightenment, what we call the path of no more learning, because there now are you a Buddha, okay? Abide in enlightenment. That's what bodhisoha means, okay? And bodhi means enlightenment or awakened. And so that is the end of that for the time being. And also just to mention wisdom, okay? We're on the subject of wisdom. So I will, without too much commentary here, I will mention to you what we call the 5 wisdoms. Of course, the perfection of wisdom covers all of this. And these are the 5 wisdoms you realize when you become a Buddha, okay? And the first one is the all-pervasive or all-pervading wisdom. All-encompassing wisdom is actually a better way to put it. So you perceive everything. You perceive this emptiness, but not emptiness as the opposite of fullness as mentioned before. You've now totally purified the mind. You are enlightened. There is nothing blocking your view, to use a metaphor. You perceive absolutely everything, yourself, all other living beings, inanimate objects, and the opposite of that. So the wisdom gone beyond has been realized. So the all-encompassing wisdom. Also, you have the all-accomplishing wisdom. You're now able to, for the benefit of all living beings, accomplish anything. Give the Dharma teachings for the benefit of beings, perceive their minds, because you have this all-encompassing wisdom. Lead living beings according to their own nature, or their own unenlightened nature right now. Also, there is the mirror-like wisdom. So just like if you look in a mirror, you see something in a mirror, or I should say from a mirror point of view, that when something is reflecting in the mirror doesn't hang on to it, does it? It perceives it, but it's like a reflection. All phenomena are empty of self-existence. The mirror doesn't hang on to it. And so this mirror-like wisdom is similar to that. Then there is the wisdom of discernment, also can be known as the wisdom of discrimination. So you perceive all of the differences in living beings and all phenomena. Every single thing, from the tiniest dust mote to the largest physical thing that we could even, as human beings, we can't even think of the largest living thing or the largest inanimate thing even. Just think about that. You're perceiving every single finer detail, but just like the mirror-like wisdom, not hanging on to it, not thinking this is wisdom. And then, of course, you have the wisdom of equality, perceiving all things as equal. Also can be known as the wisdom of equanimity. So these are the 5 wisdoms. If you want to look them up to know some more details, you can do so. And then you can shoot me some questions if you like, and I can expand upon that a little bit more. Like I said, in the future, we will go into the Heart Sutra in some detail, and included in that, I will give a lot of detail, clear detail on these 5 wisdoms as well. So that is the wisdom aspect covered. Now, the rest of the class today, we have about 8.5 minutes. I'll start to give the conclusion of the 6 paramitas. And then next week, I will give the second part of the conclusion and also speak about the 4 immeasurables, how the practice of the 4 immeasurables help us to develop the bodhicitta. In other words, as well, help us to practice these 6 paramitas, to develop them. And also, what can we call this? There's a few different ways of expressing this. The 7-point cause and effect practice, of which I guess for me, I've tended to call this over the years, the 7 points for training the mind in bodhicitta. And so this covers the 4 immeasurables as well, okay? And so we will talk about those 2 ways of training, ways of practice to develop the bodhicitta. And for instance, the first one is to recognize all beings as your mother. And I'm sure you've heard me talk about this type of thing before. And so we will talk about those 2 that come from the 2 different Mahayana traditions, the sometimes known as Chittamitra or Yogacara tradition, as well as the Madhyamika, the middle way tradition. You could say Master Nagarjuna propagated the middle way, and Master Sangha propagated the Yogacara way, or sometimes known as Chittamitra, mind-only school. Okay, so we will look at that, look at those. You can practice them together, or you can pick one, up to you, to develop compassion, to develop bodhicitta. So let's have a look back at the generosity paramita. I won't give too much detail because I've already given lots of detail here. But you have the generosity of giving material aid. You have the generosity of giving protection from fear. And you have the generosity of giving the Dharma. But all of the aspects here, the practice of generosity, the person or people or objects that you're giving to, as well as the actual act of giving, are all empty of self-nature. So let's say I give you this mouse. I've used this example before. It's the closest physical thing to me right now. So I give you this mouse, but me, the giver, is empty. You receive the mouse. You are the receiver. You are also empty. The mouse, or the actual act of giving, is also empty. Why are they empty? Because they're all dependent upon each other. How can I give something to you if you're not there? How can there be an act of giving without the giver or the receiver? How can you receive something if there's no giver or something to receive? They're all interdependent and therefore empty of self-nature. The same with giving protection from fear, helping others to alleviate their fears. The person who's doing that, the person who's having their fears alleviated, as well as the act, are all empty because they are interdependent upon each other, the three aspects. The same with giving the Dharma. Just for convenience sake and quickness right now, just talk about giving the Buddhist teachings. Okay, so it just happens to be today, I'm the one giving the teachings, you're the one or ones receiving the teachings, and then there is the teaching, the giving. The teacher is empty, students are empty. The teaching is also empty because they are all interdependent upon each other. Patience. The patience when being harmed. The patience when we're experiencing difficulties on the Dharma path. And the patience with the nature of reality. So let's say, for instance, you hit me. You're harming me. You bang me on the head with a stick or something. Actually, you are empty. The aggressor is empty. The hitting or the action is also empty. And I myself, the one being harmed, is also empty because they're all dependent upon each other. Actually, if you did it with a stick, it was the stick that hit me anyway. So how can I get angry at you? You are doing it because you're not in your right mind. You're doing it through anger, which is also empty. And how can I get angry at the stick? Silly, isn't it? That doesn't mean you don't do something about it if you are being harmed, okay? Just a little footnote and a reminder. And it's the same when we're experiencing difficulties or obstacles on the Dharma path. All aspects are empty because they're interdependent upon each other. And it's likewise with the nature of reality. This concept of the nature of reality is empty. You not understanding it is also empty. And then the connection there is also empty because dependent upon each other. Then, of course, there is the effort to maintain a wholesome state of mind, the effort to relinquish unwholesome states of mind, and to have the courage and practicing the Dharma, and also have the effort to really, benefit others. I've also forgotten to mention morality, which relates closely to this. So you maintain a wholesome state of mind, is practicing morality and also the actions and words as well, abstaining from the negative actions of body, speech, and mind, and also to benefit others as well. Then, of course, you have concentration. And at the moment, maybe we have ordinary concentration. Work your way towards extraordinary concentration. But don't attach to anything. Even if you experience good results, even go through the jhanas, the mental absorptions, where you're purifying your mind gradually. Don't attach to any of this, okay? It's all empty. And then, of course, then you can get to the stage of having extraordinary and really special, perfect concentration, samadhi. and also realize the perfection of wisdom. So we are 1 minute and 20 seconds to go. Remember, the perfection of wisdom is what makes the other ones perfect. Practicing the other 5 helps you to develop the mind and the conditions mentally that you need to be able to realize the perfection of wisdom. They are all interdependent upon each other. They are all empty. Empty of suffering, empty of the cause of suffering, empty of cessation, and empty of the path. Right now, here and now is the path. And even the result of the path is here and now. So practice here and now and have no expectation. So I'll see you next week. I rejoice in your goodness as always. Study well, practice well, share the Dharma well. Don't be too hard on yourself, okay? It's very important. But also don't be lazy.